Hi, good afternoon. This is Tolec from the Andromeda Council and Transformational Shift Events. Thanks for joining us. It is the middle of February 2019, and we are here today because I have a very special guest with me, Suzanne Ross. And Suzanne is the founder and producer for Sci-Spi TV. Suzanne, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Tolec.
Yes, we've been planning this for a while, and we finally got to be able to pull it off, and this is going to be a great conversation.
Absolutely. I'm really delighted to have this opportunity to be with you today, Tolec. Thanks so much.
Good. You're welcome. Suzanne is quite well known here in the Sedona, Arizona area, but for those of you nationally or internationally who may not know of her, the first thing I want to know is that she's an author of 2 books. The first one is Wake Up, Awakening Through Reflection, and the second book is Rise Up, Awakening Through Revelation. And so, starting with those 2 books as an introductory to you, can you tell me, at least at this point, what was that evolutionary moment which prompted you to write these 2 books?
So it was about 2008 when I really had a spiritual awakening.
You're beating me to the punch. Keep going. This is a good time to do this. It's appropriate. Go ahead.
Definitely what led to writing the book.
All right.
So back in 1995, I had an experience on a mountaintop, and that is me on the mountaintop having this first awakening, and we can get into that experience. And then in 2008, I had another profound spiritual awakening experience that actually led to me starting to channel and do automatic writing. Okay. And because of these deep trance meditations that I had been doing for a few years, I had opened myself to receiving information from higher intelligences, and that's exactly what led to writing the books, because I got guidance from what I would call the other voice to write books. And at the time I was a personal trainer, and I was like, okay, I'm not an author, I'm a personal trainer. And the other voice was like, you'll figure it out. Yeah. And here we are, and I'm working on my 3rd book now.
So what was that mountaintop event? This is what we're talking about. I've heard it briefly before, but tell these people.
Yes. So back in the 90s, I was working in the corporate world. Right. And I was born and raised in California, and to go work in the corporate world, I got transferred to the East Coast, New Jersey to be specific.
God bless you, woman. We've all been there.
Yes. And I felt like a fish out of water in New Jersey from Southern California. Yeah. It's just a totally different vibe, and the way that people interact.
The pace is quick.
If
you're not moving, they're going to run over you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's true traffic-wise. Yes. So I really learned to be kind of abrasive to align with this approach and the fast pace. Yeah. And I discovered that the mean-spirited politics of the corporate world just weren't suited to my Susie Sunshine nature.
Southern California, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so feeling displaced, feeling misaligned with my true calling was leading to various physical and mental ailments. I was having anxiety attacks, and my hair was falling out in clumps. I had eczema on my skin. And
oh boy.
I knew the job was killing me. I knew the whole situation was causing me so much mental and physical distress that I was going to have to do something. And so one morning I walked out to the kitchen, and I literally just said, if there is no more meaning to purpose to life than this, I'm out of here. I mean, it felt like you'd wake up, fight brutal traffic, go to work, fight brutal politics, right, to get back in the car, to sit in traffic, to go home, eat dinner, and wake up and do it all over again. Like
the politics of the office. Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's got to be more meaning in life more meaning and purpose to life than this, or, I'm out of here. And about that time, the phone rang, and it was my parents. It was like, Saved by the Bell. My parents called. They were like, hey, we have this great vacation home out in the desert of Southern California. This is in December. It's blizzarding in New Jersey.
East Coast. Oh, yeah.
Right. I'm like, fun in the sun with my family. That's exactly what I need, is a break from it all. So
was this a vacation at this moment? It's
yes,
vacation.
this was a vacation. It was meant to be 2-week vacation.
Right.
So my dad picks me up at the airport. We head out to the desert. The minute we came over the top of this mountain and started to head down into the valley of this desert, I just felt like I had come home.
That was my. By the way, that was my first experience in Arizona as well. I remember being here for the first time and going, "Oh my God!" And you know where I was? I was at the corner. I'd driven at night, and we arrived early morning at the corner of the exit from I-17 and 179 in Sedona. So we're on 179. We drive like, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, and I start to see these red rocks, and I went, right, that's exactly what happened. And I said to myself, this was in 1987, I'm like, wow, someday this place is going to explode. So here is that someday. We're here now, and there are people everywhere, but it's still beautiful, and the energy of this place is still absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yes.
And
well,
so continue.
fast forwarding, that happened to me seeing Sedona in 2014.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, back to,
right.
This is December 1995, and, I see this desert valley laid out below, and I just feel like I've come home. And so over the course of the next 2 weeks, I had so much fun in the sun with my family, experiencing laughter, love, joy, things I hadn't experienced in years. And then one morning, I just woke up panic-stricken that I was going to have to return to my life in hell. And that's what it felt like to me.
New Jersey.
In New Jersey. Right? And so that morning, I was just compelled to put on my shoes and run to the mountain range behind their house. And I just kept running, and I was compelled to run to the top of this mountain. And so I did, and I just threw my arms up, looked up in the sky, and I said, I am miserable in the extreme, and I see no way out. And in that moment of surrender, I felt a total sense of calm wash over me. And then there was a flash of a big white light, and out of the white light came a voice. And it said, "Can't you see you've come home? You will stay here and heal yourself and many others."
Wow.
I still get goosebumps telling you
powerful.
that story.
Wow.
Because in that moment, I knew that was the absolute truth for me.
Yeah.
But when go ahead.
Did you feel like this sort of, like somebody had pulled a string and your whole body went, whew. You must have felt some kind of like somebody snapped the rubber band, the elastic, no more tension, because of all of the truth that you felt in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely. My shoulders dropped.
Right.
A smile came across my face.
And you went, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I looked out across that desert landscape, and I just was filled with enthusiasm and excitement over my new life in the desert as a healer.
Wow.
And I ran down that mountain, and for the next 2 weeks, it was like there was a spiritual force pushing me to do this, and now you're going to do that. And at times it felt like I was above my body, watching myself go through the motions of completely transforming my life from a business executive on the East Coast to a healer in the desert. But I knew this was the truth for me, and so I followed the energy, and I went to this local 5-star resort. They hired me on the spot as a health and fitness person without any resume.
You already had the experience.
No,
right?
I had no experience. I was a corporate executive.
Okay.
Literally, the only experience I had was working out, to videotapes in my living room. Honest to God, Tolec, that is the truth.
So they looked at you and said, yeah, okay, we'll take a chance.
Totally. That's divine synchronicity.
Yeah.
When...
It also speaks to the truth and the reality of what you were feeling in terms of what was going to be your new life.
Yeah.
You were resonating with the near future of your life, and they could feel it too, I'm sure. This is the West, so people do pick up on those things.
Yeah, that was a great description of it.
That was what year?
December 1995.
Okay.
By February 1996, I had already opened a wellness center in the desert. Mind you, I had to go home and quit my job and leave my husband, which I did.
Got it. Okay. Well, that happens. How many people that you know that have come up to Sedona and they've shed their old life, they've shed their husband or their wife, they're trying to figure out how they're going to take care of their kids, but I've met hundreds and hundreds of people since being here that they're going through that exact same experience. There's something about the desert that is cathartic. It's healing for people, and it's a place to be for who knows how long. I've been out here for a while. But your story, so 95, what other events that propelled you to where you are today? You know, certainly you're still an author. You've already produced a couple of events which have been fabulous. How about other things in your life that have said, hey, you're on the right path?
Thank you for asking that.
Sure.
So there was 12 years I stayed in the desert and healed myself and many others, and I'm very transparent about this in my book, Wake Up. What happened is that there was a series of events that turned this desert, where my dream came true, into a ghost town. And one of them was 9/11.
Wow.
Because most of the people in this town were wealthy retired golfers. Those were my clients as a personal trainer. After 9/11, they just walked away from their second and third homes and never came back.
Wow.
And the town became a ghost town, literally. And as it did, I died inside too. And I had a classic dark night of the soul. My dear husband had already moved up to Northern California. He plucked me out of that situation, put me into Northern California with him, and I got a job at a really nice high-end wellness center in Northern California. But the more important thing was this was 2008. You remember, 2008 was a tough year.
Just for clarification, this is your new husband, Scott.
Yeah, who I married like in 2000. I met him around the same time that I had this big awakening event.
All right, good, okay.
The love of my life walked into the picture. And I was like, wow, that's true love.
That's great. That's great. Okay.
Yes.
So Scott plucks you out of Southern Cal. You moved to Northern Cal.
True. Yeah.
Wow.
And because of the dark night of the soul, I needed some spirituality or something to fill that void and to make sure that I never slipped back into another dark night. And so I felt as if I, in a moment, had been turned away from the darkness and turned toward the light. And
what made it feel dark? Was it the loss of the Southern California community as a location that made you question this new phase of your life?
It was the town rolling up and blowing away.
That was, I guess that was,
you know, like
shake your foundation?
My wellness center went out of business, and my parents moved to Canada, and my husband moved to Northern California. And it was abandonment and every other thing that led to my dark night.
Got it. Okay. Right.
So, yeah.
It would certainly make you question the decisions that you had made.
Yeah.
So it's,
But someone told me on the radio the other day, you can't have the spark without the dark. So it was really interesting. I felt like a super ball. You know how you have a super ball, you drop it from here and it hits the ground.
Right.
And then doing, it flies up higher than it had ever been before. That's the analogy I kept feeling. Like I had been here and I had to hit the ground. And when I did, I was woken up and I went higher than I ever would have gone had it not been being dropped on the ground and really hitting rock bottom to, fly up to the level where in 2008 I entered a Buddhist path, and these Buddhist meditations were like, there's a liberation prayer and you imagine nectar flowing down through your crown chakra, going down into the soles of your feet, and I'm taking these long walks out in nature like a light body glowing with golden nectar, and I had no idea how powerful it would be to walk through nature like a glowing light body, and I started to have these experiences of shifting into a different version of reality, like everything was sparkling light and fluorescent colors, and I knew it wasn't the same reality that I had set out on my walk-in. And then I started to hear this other voice telling me things like, you're going to write a series of books. Really? But also, these walks out in nature gave me this profound sense of oneness, because I started to see reality for what it was. Holographic, fractals, the water was like liquid consciousness, everything was consciousness. And then I had telepathic experiences with the animals that I would come across, like these big egrets. I mean, I know it sounds kind of wild, but I felt at one with all of the plants, animals, and living things and beings, even the water and the air. So I was really having a major leap in consciousness.
Isn't it amazing what you can hear when you're walking out in the desert and there's this still and there's this what we perceive in society as real quiet. And yet, when we're out there, it's amazing what you can hear. You can hear the little feet of animals walking.
Yes.
You can hear the sounds of different, not only insects, but different insects. You can actually discern them. Why? Because the noise of the city is gone.
Yes.
All you have is, I call it like the hum of life. There's like this constant little hum out in the desert. It's a beautiful tone. But you got to be up there for a while and actually quiet. Quiet, quiet this, quiet this.
Totally.
So
and
you-
be totally present.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I practiced being very present because the spiritual books I was reading at the time, one of them was Ram Dass, Be Here Now.
Sure.
And so when my mind would go, oh, I got to answer that email, I got that phone call, I got to get my grocery shopping list, stop. I would make myself, I would repeat, be here now, be here now, be here now, and I would think I am here and now. And in the here and now, you go into your heart space, and you expand your heart, and you become very present, and you can hear the sounds of bird chirping,
That's right.
sounds amplified, and you know you're present. And so...
Mine is just breathe. 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 Yeah, whenever all the stuff in life starts to stack up, I go, all right, hang on. Breathe. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So, Northern California, there must have been some moment during experience there where you looked at Scott and said, we're going to Sedona.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was that like?
Okay, so by 2012, I had already started channeling. I purchased Dragon Naturally Speaking voice recognition software because I would go into trance state, I would channel through, and somebody had to take dictation. I would record it, but so the computer was typing my books as I was channeling through.
That's great.
I was given exact guidance on how these books were meant to be laid out.
Okay.
The processes in the books were shown to me that you never get writer's block when you're, being guided by spirit, because it's just showing you, you're channeling it. And so by 2012, I was having pretty profound spiritual experiences of connecting with other intelligences. And so in 2012, I'm sitting in meditation and I hear the voice say, in 2015, Scott and I are going to move to Sedona. Get up and write that on a vision board. Okay, so I did, and I even sketched a house. Now, I had never even heard of Sedona, so even though I wrote Sedona on this board, I was like, who's Sedona? Where's Sedona?
So prior to 15, you had never been to Sedona?
Never even heard of Sedona.
Wow.
And then I worked in this very busy club, huge club, 5,000 members. I go to work. Everybody and their brother, including all of my clients, are going, have you ever heard of Sedona? Have you ever been to Sedona? Look at my Sedona vacation photos. You and Scott would love Sedona. Dune buggies are street legal, and there's crystal stores everywhere. I saw Sedona t-shirts, bumper stickers, everything was Sedona, this, that. It was really wild.
And so did you look up and go, all right, I'm listening?
Yeah,
okay, good,
right?
Good.
So Scott promised me he'd take me to the Grand Canyon when I turned a certain age. And so
30-something.
30-something.
Yes, okay, right.
And so I said, hey, can we stop through that Sedona place on the way to or from the Grand Canyon?
Like, yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like you. We came in through Oak Creek.
Right.
It's a beautiful way to come in.
Right, 179.
Once we saw those magnificent red rocks, I was speechless, breathless.
You looked at Scott.
We have to figure out a way to move to Sedona.
Right.
Mind you, I wrote the vision board a couple years earlier, so I wasn't really hung up on that outcome. 2012. Now it's 2014 when we finally get to Sedona.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So 2 years had passed.
Yeah.
It's on the vision board.
Right,
Wow.
right. So we spent a couple of days in Sedona, and it was so bizarre. I saw us living here. We went to the Walmart, which was bizarre, but we're in Walmart, and I'm going, we're going to be spending a lot of time in here. Like, you know how you can, like my friend Brooks has a book, Remembering the Future. It was like I was remembering the future. And long story short, we go home. Scott gets laid off from his job, which we were both shocked.
Wow.
And so he was forced to find another job. And I said, didn't you used to consult with a firm in Phoenix?
Now, was he still, he was still in the telecom industry back then.
Mm-hmm.
So he went from telecom in the Bay Area telecom in the Phoenix area.
Right.
It was an easy move for him.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And ultimately he said, okay, I'll live in Phoenix and you can live in Sedona. And I said, here, I got to show you something. So I took him upstairs and I'm like, look at this vision board. I did that in 2012.
Right.
And he's like, oh, you got me fired.
Right. And he's been commuting ever since.
And he's been commuting
right,
ever since, right.
Well, it keeps the marriage alive.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Wow.
Sedona.
So here you are.
Yeah, everything started expanding like wildfire. In 2015, I started a television series on Voice America TV called Lighten Up. And being on Voice America TV forced me to have a weekly show. I had to have a new guest every week, and so I got very interconnected with people in the field of spirituality and wellness. Life coaches, wellness professionals, spiritual practitioners, and a lot of authors and speakers.
Right.
And so...
And here we are in Sedona, and it's, of course, one of the largest destination markets in the country. So people love to come to Sedona and as a focal point.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Sedona. Can we come out, interview? Right, those folks.
It was so easy to get people to come to Sedona to be on my show and sit right here in my studio. So one thing led to another, and I met a gal named Shakina Rose, and immediately we knew we had known each other in other lives, in other places. We knew we had to go out on the land once a week. We were very busy. We hardly knew each other, but we just had this calling. You have to go out on the land once a week. And so every Wednesday we'd meet and go out on the Red Rocks. And she showed me the portals and vortexes and sacred sites. And one day we're sitting in a transformation tree. We discovered we could do telepathic shared meditation. We'd go into meditation and we'd come out of it and I'd go, I saw this. And she's like, I know, I was there. So, wow, this is what happens in Sedona in the vortex.
Right, yes, this is typical of this area.
And one day she shouts out, Supernatural Sedona. And I was like, oh yeah, man, it's supernatural. She's like, no, it's a television show.
Right.
One thing led to the next, and we produced Supernatural Sedona out in the Red Rocks. We got authors who've written books about Sedona, people who came out who knew all about the different sacred sites, about the ley lines, about the chakra of Sedona.
And a conference, a fabulous conference.
Our first conference,
right,
Supernatural Sedona.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had 3 events now, and Shakina Rose and I are going to co-host an event coming up, which we'll get to shortly.
Right.
But I stopped doing Voice America TV because I wouldn't have time to do Supernatural Sedona, which ultimately led to Supernatural Adventures. And now...
Things evolve, yes. And before we go on to the event that you're going to be producing and hosting soon, I remember some of our earlier conversations and the impact that your family has had on you, especially your dad. Would you share with people something special that you remember about your dad in the years that you were going through some of those struggles? Because I know he took you aside a couple times and said,
Aww.
Listen, hon.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell people what something that made an impact on your heart that tells everybody how special your father was?
Thank you for that. Well, for starters, my dad had an abduction experience when he was 18. And he had missing time for 4 hours.
You may have mentioned this, but I don't remember it, so...
Yeah, okay. Well, it's kind of important on this whole spiritual unfoldment and also my connection to other beings and other realms and my now missing time experiences that have unfolded.
Makes it all relevant.
My dad was 18. He lived in Saskatchewan, Alberta. He was flying down a dirt road with his buddies. He was 18 years old. There was 4 of them in the car, and there was a big white light behind them, in front of them, out in the field. It's not kicking up any dust. So my father pulled over, got out with the passenger, and they were going to see this thing go past or, try to figure out what it was. Next thing you know, they're all sitting in the car going, what are we doing? So they take off. As they're taking off, they see this white light speed across the field, connect with a larger orange light, and take off into space.
Gone.
And they're like, whoa. So they went to the nearest farmhouse, banging on the door. And the woman walks out and she's like, what are you kids doing here at midnight? And they're like, midnight? We just left the house at 7. Like, what do you mean midnight? And
no clue.
so my dad wakes up the next day and has a triangular-shaped metallic object in his wrist. All growing up, he called it his alien chip.
Wow.
And he would hold it. He would sit and talk like this or like this.
Wow.
He would always be holding his... And growing up, we had books about UFOs, about alien abductions. Whitley Schreiber's alien abduction book was sitting on our glass table.
This experience sounds like Travis's. Bunch of guys out in the woods.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And all of a sudden you wake up, the guys are scattered. Everybody, they're like, what happened? Where did we go?
After that,
so your dad was a kid when this happened?
18 years old.
Wow.
So he grew up in the prairie of Saskatchewan. Right after that, he was recruited by NCR, one of the pioneers of the emerging computer age.
That's right. Yeah.
He was recruited. They moved him to Mount Shasta, where I was born.
One of the spiritual centers of the country, of
Yes, I grew up as a little kid playing in the forests of Mount Shasta with fairies and trolls and God's honest truth.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's an incredible place, by the way. Mount Shasta's pretty special. In the same kind of way that Sedona is special.
And I feel very connected to Saint Germain ever since I, really woke up on my spiritual journey. And Saint Germain's very connected to Mount Shasta.
Okay.
But
so you grow up in Mount Shasta.
Then they moved my father to Wright-Patterson, and my father.
Choice of places.
Right?
Are you kidding me? Right, Pat?
Absolutely. My mother went to Wright-Pat University. We lived in Dayton, Ohio.
For those people who don't know, Wright-Patterson is the alleged air base where they took a variety of actually crashed ships from Roswell and Aztec, New Mexico, and a few other places. So it has notoriety in certainly the UFO genre. Right, Pat?
Yep.
They knew what they were doing with your dad.
They did.
Yeah.
My dad's German.
Jeez.
His mother speaks fluent German. My grandmother spoke fluent German. And my dad, went to a one-room schoolhouse, and he was suddenly a genius in designing computers and on the front lines of the computer age with his alien chip. I mean, I've had to reflect on these things. A group of German men would come to our house every Sunday evening, and my mother would usher us kids back into the back bedrooms while these German men would sit and have these meetings. And I'm like, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, German men in our house.
Right. And this is 60s, late 60s, early 70s?
Early 70s.
Or 70s. So that's
70s.
All things considered.
They're out in the 70s.
That's still like post-World War II, German scientists get recruited to the U.S. That whole bunch, they're still around
Project
back then.
Paperclip.
Yeah,
like
those guys are still around.
I don't know. This I can just tell you what my experiences were. And
this is great. I've never heard this story. Wow. I'm glad I asked. So keep going.
Well, as a kid, growing up, I was very well aware that when I would be sleeping in the night, I would hear footsteps coming down the hall, coming into my room, and I was aware of 3 energetic beings that would come around my bed, and they would do something energetically to my body, and I was very happy about it. I would look forward to them coming. I knew what they were doing was very loving. And that went on until I was about 8 years old, and then after that, it's faded out. Yeah. But it started up again when I was 29, right before I had the experience on the mountaintop in the desert. It started to happen again. And that experience was bright white light.
And that age is typical. I've had this conversation with other people where, whether it's 27 or 28 for women or 30 or 31 for men, that era in our lives is typically the time when we start our awakening of who we really are, what we're really meant to do in our lives. It's a maturation process that I think still continues today, but it's pretty prototypically that time in life is the awakening. So that's it's interesting that they're connected.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of stories about children that have been communicated with for many, many years until they get old enough and the society gets old and changes them. So here we are in February 2019, and you are going to produce a conference in about a month.
Yes.
And before we jump to that, is there anything else that you wanted to share in terms of the wrap-up with your dad's experience?
Oh, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, You know, when I was called to move to the desert of Southern California, my father was incredibly supportive. My mother was like, have you lost your mind? You're living the American dream with a wealthy husband who's a VP of a big corporation.
Right,
you've got the Porsche, you've got the pool in the backyard. Like, are you nuts?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, you think I've lost my mind, but I feel like I finally found it.
Yeah.
But my father, and I love my mother dearly, she's just worried about me, but my father would pull me aside and say, sweetie, I just want you to be happy. We would take long walks out in the desert, and we had amazing, mystical, magical experiences in the desert. So
Dad with his chip.
Yeah.
That guy. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a particular place called the Alien Landing Strip, where we came around the corner one day, beautiful bright blue day. Suddenly we come around the corner and it's like foggy, chilly, gray, and then we look at the ground and there's a gigantic blackened out perfect circle, and leading up to it is a long black strip. And we look at each other and we're like, what the heck? And then our skin crawled like there's eyes all around us.
Yeah.
And I looked at my dad and said, this is creepy, I want to get out of here. As soon as I said that, it was back to like a beautiful bright blue day. And we're like, what just happened?
Wow.
And this is just one experience I had with my dad in the desert. But jumping forward to current times, so let me just, before we get to the event, talk about Sci-Spi TV. Because I had produced these shows, Supernatural Sedona, Lighten Up TV, Supernatural Adventures, had a brief interaction with some gals in Hollywood, talked to Gaia TV briefly. Nothing was feeling right to me. And so suddenly I'm in meditation and I hear Sci-Spi. Sci-Spi? What the heck? Science and spirituality.
Okay, so that's
Sci-Fi, merging science and spirituality. Wow, a whole new genre? Like sci-fi, but sci-fi, merging science and spirituality. And right now, you know, so much of that's going on, merging quantum physics, the new science with spirituality, quantum physics, quantum consciousness, you know, and I've always been very into quantum physics. My book, Rise Up, 10 Days on the Ascension Path, is very much about how we came into creation through quantum physics principles and sacred geometry, along with the spiritual path. So in my book, Rise Up, I parallel discoveries in quantum physics with revelations in spirituality. So this whole Sci-Spi thing was such a natural fit. And I knew it was a brand new genre for the new age, so I trademarked it.
Smart move. Yeah, and especially being an author, that's a smart move.
Yes, trademark this brand new genre. Now what? And Spirit's like, well, naturally you'll create a whole new television network. Okay. It's like when I'm a personal trainer. You're going to write a series of books. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these are big projects. A whole new television network? Well, long story short, we have almost 25 shows on Sci-Spi.tv now, SCI-SPI.tv. We've got all, you know, best-selling authors.
People go to the web and key in this web address, and up comes your station.
SCI-SPI.tv, and you'll see 25 shows, best-selling authors, global thought leaders, quantum physicists, spiritual practitioners, TV and radio personalities, and it's just been a fantastic journey with amazing people jumping on board to have shows on the network. Now we're going to have channels. Now we're going to have 8 channels, the new science, quantum physics, the new spirituality, quantum consciousness, origins and destinies, you know, so current affairs, cryptocurrency, global finance and politics, so we're going to have it all on the network. So that was very exciting.
Planning on getting busier?
Tolec knows me.
Yes.
I've got like 6 computers going on at once in my workspace upstairs.
You can multitask like nobody else I know, which is good, you know, because it keeps you stimulated, and as long as you're focused, as long as you got the focus thing going on, you're in good shape.
Prioritizing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of training in prioritizing in the corporate world. You know, they taught you to prioritize the most important thing, the next thing that's coming up with the deadline that's coming up soonest.
They all got to go to the top. you know, you release, the next one goes up, get it done, next one goes back up. Yeah.
And here's another thing. Sitting in the shrine space in meditation, before I begin my day, I step into a spiritual energy that it's like a dance. It's like, okay, you're going to go here, and then you're going to go there. From this computer, you're going to do this, and then that, and then this. And it's almost like you're doing a waltz, like you're naturally drawn to here and then to there and then this phone call. And when you step into that divine synchronicity, magically all the people and the places and the things that you need for your project to fall into place perfectly.
It is.
Just transpire.
It is pretty amazing what happens when you align your passions, your focus, and your energy with what you want. And if you invest all of that energy into that focus, you watch how, my metaphor is how the doors open. You go, all right, here's this person, and there's the next person, and here's the facility that we'll use, whatever it is, and they just come over, click, click, click. It's amazing to watch it happen. It really is.
It is,
and the real challenge is when things don't always go smoothly, just breathe. Just get back. Because, it's just a pause. It's just a moment in time.
Yes, ease and grace is important because, if you push or pull, you cause resistance.
Right.
It's best just to flow, just to go with the flow.
And not force things.
Let things unfold.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And have patience in that process. It takes a lot of patience to do this kind of work.
And a lot of hard work and dedication. But if you feel as if what you're doing is your heart's calling and your true passion, it's never work. It's
fun.
The J-O-B, the joy of being. Right.
Good description for J-O-B.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
the event.
Now we're actually going to talk about an event taking place a month from now. So
yes.
This is your baby. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes. So I love to host events. I've got contacts that are so passionate about what they do, and the main theme for all of the events really is to inspire, enlighten, and empower. And that's exactly what we're going to do at this upcoming event, Tuesday and Wednesday, March 19 and 20. Now you might think, Tuesday and Wednesday for an event?
Those 2 days are the literal.
Yes. Spring equinox in Sedona. So the 19th is Tuesday. It's a day of preparation through initiations, activations, meditations. This isn't an event where you're going to come and hear a bunch of presentations back to back. This is an energetic event where there is audience participation. Now the speaker may get up and give you a little bit of background information about what they're going to be offering, but it's all about raising the vibration. And it's not just for us, because we all know when you get in a large group and you raise the vibration, it sends a tsunami of love and light across the entire matrix of creation. So that's what we're going to do to prepare the collective consciousness for the unfolding of the spring equinox the following day. We are going to greet the rising sun of the spring equinox on the grand portal of Bell Rock, right here in the Crystal City of Light,
Great place to do it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay.
Creative Life Center, Sedona's premier event venue. I've chosen people.
Beautiful facility.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I notice there's a lot of light, not only that strikes that room, but that whole area. It's a beautiful, beautiful setting. Yeah,
it's very cool, the Creative Life Center. It's on Schnebly Hill Road, which is named after Sedona Schnebly.
Right. But another interesting thing about Creative Life Center, its address is 333.
333.
Schnebly Hill Road.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's one of those magical numbers.
It is. And so for this event called Beyond the Matrix, I had a revelation actually just a few days ago about Beyond the Matrix and what does that really mean. And as I thought about it, it's like beyond the 3D matrix of separation and duality. Now there are many valuable lessons that we can learn in a 3D incarnational realm. However, many of us are aware that we're actually ascending out of this separation and duality, especially all of us who are sort of waking up. And
And for each person that discovers his or her own essence and his or her own passions and values in life. That is an emergence from 3D into the next vibrational level out, without a doubt, because you're starting to begin to live in the moment instead of freaking out about all the demands going on around you, from society, from parents, from family, from work, from everything else. It's definitely a shift up.
Yeah.
It's a shift in consciousness is probably a good way to put it.
For someone who does transformational shift events.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that beautifully. You really did, Tolec.
Yeah,
You expressed it beautifully, because that's exactly what it is. We're up-leveling. You wake up to a higher way of living and being and interacting with the world, yourself, and others. And so, beyond the matrix is, moving beyond this matrix of duality and separation and into a matrix, 5D, of, where unity consciousness prevails. And so I feel very inspired to bring unity consciousness onto the planet.
And far more joy as well. I mean, just from a simplistic perspective, it's when we make that shift in life, it becomes more fun. It's definitely more joyous. I find myself waking up in the mornings going, and regardless of what I've got to do, I'm like, this is my life. I'm getting to live my life on my terms, and I'm not saying it's not easy. There are challenges like anything else in life, but I'm making choices to help propel my life forward, and those choices that are good for me. And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about living from a consciousness which keeps you focused on those things that keep you passionate about life, keep you joyful about life. And Sedona is a good place to do it. I mean, you can do it anywhere in the country, but so your event, March 19th?
March 19th and 20th, here in
the 2 days,
Arizona.
the spring equinox, Creative Life Center. Starts what time in the morning on Tuesday?
Yes, so our event registration starts at 8. The event itself starts at 8:30 with a lovely Shekinah Rose singing the language of light, the backdrop of Kimberly Griffin playing the crystal bowls.
Sure.
A beautiful start to the event. Our keynote speaker, Tolec, is someone who has been an idol for me during my whole awakening journey, and her name is Barbara Handclough. She dedicated 40 years of her life to the awakening and ascension of humanity. She's written over 20 books. She actually wrote the foreword to my book, Foreword by Barbara Handclough. I'm very proud of that. She became a good friend of mine, came to see me here in Sedona. So Barbara Handclough, and then we've got Maureen St. Germain, who is currently a best-selling author of Waking Up in 5D.
Okay.
Also, Beyond the Flower of Life meditation she's popular for. Tricia McCannon has 4 best-selling books about Jesus, angels, the mystery school.
Yeah, she's very well known.
She is. She's another good friend of mine. She's going to be here. We have Brooks Agnew, 7-time best-selling author of Remembering the Future, Birth Trilogy. I could go on and on. You'll want to go to the website. There's about a dozen speakers because some of them are also musicians.
M and Ms. M of Deep Disclosure. They will be.
Mr. and Miss M.
That's right.
The divine Miss M and Matthewis Imhotep and Light Star and Stan was there.
They're really good people. They're all really good people. Yeah.
On the website, we have about a dozen 2 to 3 minute brief videos of these presenters talking about how excited they are about coming here. Previews, so you can meet them. They introduce themselves, they talk about what they're going to be offering. So that's really fun.
You get a sense for each presenter's energy.
Yes.
Energy, personality, etc.
Okay. Yeah.
And how do people, I know you know the answer, but how do people purchase tickets from your website?
Thanks for asking.
Sure.
So when you go to beyondthematrix.tv, right away, you'll see a header, and under that, a big Register Now button. We made it very obvious and very easy. Go ahead and pick your ticket option. So there is 1-day tickets, 2-day tickets, and then we have some VIP options. Because we can only take a limited number of people out on Bell Rock, that's a VIP pass. We're also having a dinner and mingle at Sound Bites on Wednesday night. You'll get to meet the presenters and mingle with them and have dinner at Sound Bites. You can get an ultimate VIP pass, which includes both the meditation and the dinner and mingle. So just go see the ticket options. Once you choose your ticket option, click on it. It'll take you to your cart where you can enter a coupon code, TOLEC10, and get a discount on the event.
for any of the people that follow my work. Got it. Okay. Good.
Of course,
So-
this is your YouTube channel.
All right.
Tolec
So-
10.
So, Suzanne Ross, author, mystical experiencer with her dad for many years.
Aw.
Now here in Sedona. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you also for telling about the special experiences in your life story that help people understand what you've been through and how you got here. And you'll get, for those of you that would like to join us and her next month at our conference on the spring equinox at the Sedona Creative Life Center. So, Tolec for the Andromeda Council and Transformational Shift Events and the lovely Ms. Suzanne Ross, thank you very much for joining me. And I'm excited for you next month. You and Shakina, when you team up, it's pretty powerful. So that room's going to be full.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And if I can just make one last mention, my website, SuzanneRossWellness.com, is where you can purchase my books. Wake Up is available on Amazon, and Rise Up is in black and white, but I was inspired to have Rise Up be full color illustrations. So there's almost 100 full color illustrations in Rise Up because it's a sacred journey. So Suzanne Ross Wellness, you can get my books, and I also offer services. So you can click on services, and I have many audio video downloads of meditations on that site as well. So I just wanted to mention that.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, Tolec and Andromeda Council, Transformational Shift Events, and Suzanne Ross, thank you again.
Thank you. Many blessings.
Take care.